How's everybody doing tonight? This is Chopping It Up Hardcore with Hal Capone, discussion number 41. Tonight I'm speaking with both members of Anton Bordman. I'm speaking with AJ Barillaro and Daniel Pastrana, the the epic drum and bass band from Providence, Rhode Island. Can't wait to pick their brain about back in the day and see what they're up to now. AJ was in Bucketful of Teeth, Lorna Doom, Last 40 Seconds, and Daniel was in Woken by Wire, if anybody hasn't heard that. So just amped to talk to these guys. Hope everybody's safe. Hope everybody's doing good. I don't know if anybody saw that crazy fucking hardcore show in New York yesterday, but I don't know. I mean, as much as I love Jimmy G and Freddie Madball and John Joseph and those guys, but Jesus Christ, I don't know. That gave me crazy anxiety, like watching that. So I hope everybody's safe, and I don't know. You wouldn't catch me in that fucking crowd at all. So, like I said, I love those guys, but I don't know. That was just wild to me. Definitely crazy. AJ and Daniel should be joining any minute. Like I said, hope everybody's good. Sunday, chilling. Other than that, the Oscars are on tonight. Big movie guy. Not that any of those movies really wowed me this year. But, hopefully this year is a little better. So... like I said, can't wait to talk to these guys. I got to see Anton Bordman a handful of times, got to record him a couple times. It's huge for me. And I can't wait to talk to him. We were talking about this for a while, and it finally came in. I'm going to grab Daniel right now. AJ, I'm going to grab you in a second, as soon as Daniel gets on. Daniel, how you doing? Oh, he's got a little... You there? You there? Got a little Wi-Fi issue, maybe. AJ's going to come on. We'll see if we can get Daniel in here. I talked to the Ruheda guys, and we had a little technical difficulty, but we worked it out. I'm sure we can figure this one out. Daniel, your Wi-Fi, I'm not getting any visual on you. Oh, I'll try and get him back again. I'm just waiting for AJ right now. This is always crazy with three people. Bear with me, guys. We'll make it work. All right, now it's saying he's unable to join. Hold on, guys. We're going to try to make this work. AJ.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing? Oh, there he is.
Oh.
How you guys doing?
We're doing good. I'm doing good.
I think Daniel's still on a little lag right now.
I will be getting better reception in 1 second.
It's on
Sorry.
West Coast time. He steals his Wi-Fi from his neighbor like in the 90s or 2000s.
That's all right. We'll wait till he kind of stops being a little in slow-mo.
We might be waiting. That's just Danielle. Yeah.
Yeah, your visual is just a little choppy. He's trying to get into the sweet spot right there.
Hal, I don't know if you know this. Yes.
Yep. There we go.
Oh.
Perfect.
There was no other resolution. Like he couldn't possibly download the app. Thank you, Doug.
I want to thank you guys for doing this. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to do it. Being a father, I know how it is. To try and get them. I appreciate it, definitely.
Dude, it's awesome. I've been super impressed. I feel like people should be interviewing you, Hal, because you've got stories for days and bands and bands and bands for days that you've been going to shows and interacting with, and I don't know. I'm excited to kind of hear what you guys say too.
Yeah. I mean, I've been going to shows for a long, long time, and I feel like this is a positive thing to talk to people that I admire, and I love the artists that I'm talking to and the musicians. And you guys had a huge impact on me when you guys were playing back in the early 2000s. And like I said, I was blessed enough to record you guys a couple times, and it's just a pleasure to talk to you guys. And like I said, I really admire what you guys did back in the day, and especially, with you, AJ, Bucket Full of Teeth was big for me, and Last 40 Seconds. So it's an honor to talk to you guys.
Thanks. Bucket was a big one for me. That was just like a guest spot, but it was awesome. So I'm sure I don't know if you wanted to talk about that now, or we'll get there or whatever, but
yeah, no, we'll get there.
Okay.
So usually when I first started out, I ask how you guys found punk and hardcore. What kind of music were you in before you got to punk and hardcore? Because I was like a classic rock guy, and then I went to disco, strangely enough, and then that kind of pushed me into like heavy metal, and then thrash metal, and then it was hardcore, and then it was kind of like the screamo-ish type of stuff. One of you, AJ, you want to start this one off?
Sure.
Go for it, yeah.
I think maybe I was, a positive casualty of like the Nirvana stuff in the early 90s. I wasn't super into music before that. I remember liking like Motley Crue and cock rock in like late elementary school, early middle school, and then just kind of got out of music. And then after the Nirvana stuff happened, it was just like, oh, wow, I wanted to consume more. And the music, it felt like it was, I'll put it in quotes, but like more authentic. It felt like, oh, this is music that like I could be making or what have you. And that's what led me kind of on a journey into like local music and like going to shows at VFW halls and taking the rides into New Haven from where I was from to see bands and actually not even to see bands, you have to like get records and get like a bootleg tape of a live Pearl Jam show or Nirvana show and that kind of stuff. And the places that sold that kind of also had some other like more punk music and 7 inches and stuff like that. So that was kind of the lead in to punk and hardcore for me.
Now, are you guys both from Connecticut originally?
Yeah, we are. We both grew up in Connecticut, although we didn't get a chance to really start getting to know each other until we went to school in Rhode Island, the both of us. But yeah, similar. But yeah, to piggyback off of AJ, first and foremost, thanks, Hal, for organizing this. It's AJ and I talk every week, which is pretty special and pretty cool. And we've both been really jazzed and excited to do this. It's kind of the highlight of our week here. And I appreciate, especially in these times where we're all holed up at home and, going through a lot on all fronts. It's a strange time to be a human, right? But that you're documenting this and interviewing the people you're interviewing, I got a chance to watch the interview with Pete Zetlin and with Jay from Orchid. And it's really neat that you're doing this. So thank you. It's appreciated.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. But like AJ, unlike AJ, I will say music is first and foremost the biggest love of my life ever since I've been a child. I remember going to the store to Bradley's, if folks remember Bradley's, to pick up cassette tapes with my parents. And I loved the Beatles from like age 5. And I would just really, really love music. I was also a casualty of Nirvana. That was middle school for me. I bought the Nevermind cassette and literally listened to it every single day on the bus ride to and from school for the entire 7th and 8th grade. That was it. And then I also started skateboarding when I was 10. And I used to record songs off of old skate videos, and I didn't really know half of them. Like a lot of it turns out was like Descendants and all this stuff that you would kind of imagine and associate with skate videos from like the early 90s, late 80s. But there was a skateboard park in Connecticut where we, again, AJ and I are from Connecticut, called the Playground. And I used to go, my parents used to drive me when I was younger to go skate there. And I was getting into punk. I got into like hardcore punk. I'll say hardcore at that point, from kids in high school who were passing along tapes, and I was like, this is crazy. This is different. This is cool. There's an edge to it that's both kind of scary and exciting. And but I was too young to go to shows. My parents wouldn't let me go to shows at the Tune In and places like this. Little too much for them. But then there was a matinee at the skate park, and my parents were like, "Oh yeah, you can go to that." And so I went, and it was, I think it was like maybe 92, 93, maybe 92, 93. It was a Dismay. And the only other band I remember, they were an intense band. And this band Level, which maybe will come up later because some of those people played an integral part, I think, both for AJ and I, introducing us to music. But I was hooked from then on. I was like, there's something so intriguing, so unique. I felt like I didn't really fit in like many of us growing up, and this was a place where something special was happening, and I knew I needed to latch on immediately. So that was, early 90s.
Now, AJ, were you a skateboarder as well? Because I always feel like that bridges the gap between, the music and skateboarding. It's I hear that a lot, definitely.
I wanted to be. I was not. I was hanging with kids that skateboarded in high school, and I'd go hang out and try to get a stationary ollie down or something like that. But like that love of skateboarding and that connection to the music wasn't the lead in for me, and that wasn't even like I always appreciated skate videos, but it wasn't the thing I was doing. It wasn't a piece that I fell in love with. If I had tried it when I was a little younger and maybe a little more risky or less risk averse, I might have clicked. But I ripped a pair of jeans. I'm like, all right, I'm done with this.
Yeah. I'm like you. I never really skateboarded. I was kind of a jock when I was younger. I played tons of sports. So I think like what transitioned me to, I'm older than you guys. I'll be 50 in January, so I'm a little older than you guys.
What day? No, what day?
What?
What day in January?
January 1st, New Year's Day.
Happy birthday. Well, 6 months from now.
Yeah, 6 months from now, I'll be 50. So,
nice.
I like you guys were saying, like Nirvana was big. I was a little bit too old when Nirvana hit to like, I was already into the punk and hardcore stuff when Nirvana hit. So, but I hear Nirvana is huge, and I talk to a lot of people and they always say Nirvana's big. Speaking of that, what were the bands that hooked you heavy wise that like kind of turned you on to like being like, okay, I want to kind of play this music, or I want to go to shows? What were the bands that were big for you guys in the punk hardcore-ish realm?
A band for me, the band that like when I one of the first shows I went to was, and one of the openers was a band called Big Mistake, and they were a New Britain, Connecticut, I guess hardcore band, but I must have traveled so much to see them, like every weekend to see them. And they opened up for a bunch of big bands that people have heard of, but I don't think they were a band that was like connected necessarily to like the US circuit as far as like traveling and touring and that sort of thing. Like they seem to kind of miss that. But that band was huge for me, and they introduced like the music, but also, you know, they didn't look apart, you know. Like I've been thinking about that through the pandemic. You look at everyone has a new Instagram channel of like, oh, 90 shows, you know, Haverhill hardcore, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And you look at these shows and you can tell by the still photo what type of music it is. You can tell by the baggy clothes and jerseys and X's. Oh, you know exactly what style of music. You can tell with some kid in Dickies laying on the floor, you know what kind of music it is. So this band, Big Mistake, none of that adhered. Like nothing. They didn't like fit a stereotype. They had a guy that like would wear a Judd shirt, but then they had a guy with long hair and like maybe wearing eyeliner sometimes, and maybe had a trumpet sometimes. And the drummer had long hair. So they were just kind of like this mishmash of people that made what I thought was awesome music. And I mean, I must have seen them 100 times in the course of a couple of years. Like it was just, they were everything. And they, you know, because I was chasing them around, I got to see them open for like Bikini Kill. I got to see them open for Avail when Avail was still small. And it was just like, those were like amazing, life-changing shows that like impact the way I raise my daughters and think about things in general. So it's like, wow, I don't listen to the band that much, but they held such like a really important part for me.
Yeah.
I can't really imagine that you know them, Hal, or that they.
No, I've never heard of them. No,
you don't really need to either.
I can fix that. No, me and Tim Daltrey, me and Brian CT will send you a demo or all the records. Like he's the only other fan I found.
Really?
For a reason.
Well, Brian knows everything, so I mean, he knows every band. I swear.
So that was me.
Yeah. I grew up, you know, initially, again, before I had a license and can drive places and do that kind of stuff, I would go to or get rides to New Haven. And that's where I saw a lot of the initial shows in like 92, 93, 94 that really hooked me into it. And truthfully, it's a scene that I don't relate to as much anymore, or like at least in hindsight, with a different thing. But it was, you know, bands like Shelter, Jesus, I don't even know. Like a lot of those Revelation bands, Super Touch. I remember I used to really like them.
It's funny, Danielle. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Danielle. Yeah, you're lagging. That's all.
Yeah. Now he's clearer, but nice. Sorry, you were chopped up a little bit right there.
Okay.
Now I got the clear picture. Definitely.
Okay.
Sorry, you were chopped up a little bit.
Are you, Danielle? You good, buddy? Can you hear us, bud?
Oh, he's off. I'll try to get him back on. It's I talked to the Ruheda guys last week, and it kicked Nick off for a little while.
Oh, okay.
and then
He'll sign it. I can't get back to just us. I'm seeing all like the comments, but I can't get out of them. Let me just hold on. Okay, good, better. Okay, so we can talk until Danielle joins us, or what do you want to do?
I can try to add him, and then we'll just
Okay.
talk while we're waiting for him.
Okay.
Let me see if he's. I don't know if he's. Let's see. On your end, you might have to try and get him too. But until
Okay.
then, now speaking of Connecticut hardcore, were you into bands like Die My Will from Connecticut and Ground Zero and Dead Eyes Under and stuff like that back then?
I never got into that stuff. As I was, some friends that, like, as I went to college, went to Rhode Island around 94, 95, but then was still coming back to Connecticut on breaks. Some of my friends around like that time frame started listening to that kind of stuff. Danielle says he can hear us, but he needs to be invited back in.
Okay. I sent him an invite. Maybe I'll try again. Hold on one sec.
Cool. Yeah, that kind of metally hardcore sound. I never connected with it personally, but had a bunch of friends that did, and like that was all their shows, all their shirts were that stuff. And I couldn't name a song from any of those bands even.
Yeah. Well, I only asked because like in the mid '90s and late '90s, Connecticut was like a big scene for Connecticut back then. Like Hatebreed obviously was like the biggest like Connecticut band that was doing their thing back then. And I was just wondering, just because up here it was kind of the same thing. It was like Converge, Cave In, and then obviously those bands would play with like Die My Will and Dead Eyes Under and the bands from Connecticut. So it was kind of always, those were the shows that were happening up and around here. I sent him an invite. It's just waiting. Let me see if he might have to log off and then come back on.
Okay.
If he can hear me.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to try to text him too. So is that a bad idea?
I don't know if that'll kick you out. You see the little arrow by your name up above? You see the little like down arrow? If you press that, you might be able to add him and he could in through your side.
No, it's not letting me do that.
All right. He might, like I said, he might have to get out of the app and then come back in.
Let me Daniel, did you hear any of that, bud? I guess this is the equivalent to having issues with your equipment when you're setting up a show.
Well, like I said, it happened last week too, so I'm getting used to it, I guess. I don't know if it's like on his Wi-Fi thing that's what he's saying. Yes.
Oh, okay.
On my end, it's saying he's unable to join. Hold on one sec. Let me see if he's on again. I see his name, but he's like in gray. It's not like lit up. I wonder if, like I said, if he logs off and then comes back on. There we go. Do you have an option on your side to try and add him?
No, it's just me and you in there, in that button.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we'll just keep going until we can find him. I'm just going to keep going.
Let's do it every couple minutes.
So how did you guys actually meet?
Okay. This is this would be great to have him here with me, but I'm going to say keep trying. So I had gone away. I had moved to Rhode Island in like 94 for college. Danielle was moving there in like end of 96 for college. And during summer 96, there were some awesome shows. And this is after I had like moved on from, not moved on, but maybe shifted a little bit from that big mistake, like the VFW hall show style thing, to more of like a DIY show space, a basement, a bookstore, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So a mutual friend of ours, so I didn't know Danielle, but a mutual friend of ours was named Toby. Toby was in bands. Toby was in some great bands. He was a little older than me, and he was from my town. So I knew him from my town, but Danielle knew him from like going to shows and stuff. So he introduced us. He's like, hey, you guys should know each other. You're going to be in the same place. So we're like, yeah, okay. Sounds good. I will, I took his phone number, had it on my bulletin board or something for months and months, and never did anything with it. And then I feel like it was, maybe I saw him at a Neurosis show at the Met Cafe, the old Met Cafe in Providence. And I was like, oh, hey man, we talked and gabbed and we re-exchanged numbers. And then we started hanging out as buddies and going to shows. Like Al Barkley, who did Contrast Records, was setting up a lot of shows back then, doing it in his basement in like South County, Rhode Island.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Sorry, guys. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully this will work.
Danielle, I was just saying how like Toby introduced us when you were going to college.
Mm-hmm.
How I think the first time we actually like met up in Providence was at a Neurosis show. Does that sound right?
That sounds correct, which is odd that you or I would be at a Neurosis show.
There's another band that reminds me of them that it could have been too.
No, this is what it is. And this band, and maybe it was Neurosis, but it was, I forget the order of this, but I remember AJ calling me and he said, I've had your number on my bulletin board forever. It's the end of the semester and I would kill myself if I didn't give you a call. Franklin is playing at Barkley's house.
Okay.
Very different than Neurosis. Much more likely that we would have seen each other at a Franklin show, but you want to drive down together, and then we did, and that kind of started everything. So, but we may have seen each other at Neurosis first, one of the two. Yeah.
I think so. That sounds perfect. Franklin.
So,
Yeah.
So.
And you guys were in bands before this, obviously. What were you in Woken by Wire before?
I think that was after or during. Gosh, that's a good question. Was it during AJ? I can't remember.
No, you definitely did Beltane into Woken by Wire before. I think before we ever even practiced.
Could be.
Maybe there was some overlap at the end.
Yeah. And some very unremarkable and unforgettable bands in high school with some nice people. But yeah, other than that, like not too much. Definitely huge fans, and we would go to shows a ton. And I started playing drums when I was in 6th grade. So that, again, back to the theme of music always being a passion for me. And so I had always wanted to, but things never quite took off until I was about later teenage years. So
as someone that saw some of Danielle's bands before we ever played together, he's selling himself a little short. But I mean, maybe the names weren't great.
The names were definitely not great. Maybe you've heard of such one-hit wonders as Elephant Head or Nildro Hane, but those are some of the bands that I played in. Awesome people that I still think fondly back upon, that I've lost touch with. But yeah, nothing too wild.
Now are those bands on the internet that people can hear, or are they kind of hidden and no?
Both bands recorded. I have a demo of still both bands, but I'd be shocked if that was on the internet. It's the only claims to fame. Elephant Head was definitely actually John Wilson, who went on to play in. No, was he not in Elephant Head? I don't even know. No. Nildro Hane, our buddy Josh, who went on to play in bands like Leaves of LaFlorian, he was in that band. It was a neat band. And my friend Trevor, who went on to play in The Way Down and is an incredible guitarist from the same town that I grew up in, he was in that band. So they're cool, but we never really did more than play like maybe 5 shows or something like that. Yeah.
I I did some practices.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping the bad name, keeping the bad band name thing.
A reoccurring theme.
Yeah,
Mhm.
spit on Yo Grave was one.
Oh. Is that with a Y-O?
We didn't even get to. It was a YO, but we didn't even get to play a show to like where it would have mattered. I wrote like one song and like a Black Flag cover or something. Who's Treble Healing?
I don't know, but yeah,
Oh.
whomever you are, I'll send you the tapes.
So yeah, and Naltez said this before. I happened to see there was an early VFW hall show, or it was a Masonic Temple show in my hometown, and I went with my buddies, and Mag, who was in Yafet, is from my town, my hometown, and one of his early bands was playing, which sounded like Dinosaur Jr. kind of. Awesome. Still have the demo. Fairwood's Mission. So that's why I was at the show. And then there was some buddies doing like instrumentals. They were all the kids that went to Berkeley. So they did all these instrumentals, and then like me and a buddy got up and did like some Rage Against the Machine stuff. So yeah, we might want to.
Next question.
Yeah, you know. Oh, it's Trevor. Treble Healing is Trevor.
Hey, Trevor, what's up?
And you should mention he's a world famous luthier now.
Trevor is awesome. He is an extraordinarily talented musician, guitar player, ever has been since I met him when I was like 14, is an incredible guitar builder, and he and I have come in and out of losing touch, but it's so nice to see you, Trevor. Even though, yeah, we're not really seeing each other. Yeah.
Now, last 40 seconds, where was that in the timeline of Anton Bordman and what you were doing, AJ?
The last 40 was basically, I only filled in. I filled in on the record, the LP,
yeah,
and I filled in maybe a couple shows. And that was definitely after Danielle and I were like a full band and like trying to do that. Well, doing like not trying to do it, just doing it. Touring. Andy, not Andy Skelly, the drummer, but Andy Maddox, the singer guitar player from Last 40 Seconds, was also from my hometown. So he's someone that like I was exploring. He was probably like one step ahead of me in like consuming like this new music we were finding and like putting in orders to Discord together and like, oh, I've got an extra $3. I might as well get a Nation Ulysses 7-inch or the Rites of Spring 7-inch, you know, like, and just like falling in love with that stuff. So then when they needed a bass player to record their LP, I was like, they asked me and I said, yeah. And then the couple times I filled in was just happened.
So what did you only play a handful of shows with that band?
Yeah. Like I wouldn't consider that a band that I was in. Like I was, just like a fill-in guy.
Fill-in, yeah. Because I saw Last 40 Seconds in Haverhill, Massachusetts.
Okay.
At Exit 23, and it was so dark in there, and it was so long ago that I didn't know if you had actually played that show or not. I think it was with maybe Transistor played, and maybe a band called DeSantien Scots, who
okay.
like later turned into a band called Rosenthal.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you had played that show though.
Definitely not. I actually think I have that. Either you or another buddy of yours made a videotape that because it's on a VHS.
Yes.
And it's not really watchable.
It's so dark.
But I wasn't.
We didn't use the nightlight on the camcorder that day. My buddy Brian, who used to go to every show, he was. I had the camcorder and he had the the VHS thing. So I would just give him my camcorder and then he would just burn VHS tapes for everybody. Because me and him were like, it was like he was with me all the time.
Okay.
So yeah, that's probably how because he was more of a talker. It's funny because I'm doing this now, but at shows I was kind of just the quiet one that was recording, and I would come up to you guys and be like, hey, sick set, that was awesome, and then that's it. You know what I mean? I was I don't know, introverted, I guess. You know.
I get it. Yeah.
I get it now more than then.
Yeah.
But, yeah, totally.
So how did you guys decide to make Anton Bordman? And another question on top of that is, did you guys always want it to just be bass and drums, or did you throw the idea around like, let's get a guitar player or let's get a lead singer?
Hal, these are inquiring and perfect questions.
I can start, AJ. We can go back and
go
forth.
ahead.
So I will say AJ and our friendship took off really fast, right? And we were definitely on the same wavelength in terms of what music we liked, the ethics behind the music we liked, and the way we wanted to see things happen. So it was only a matter of time before the conversation started, like, oh, let's do a band, right? You know, this is what you do. It doesn't matter, whatever, how long you've played, whatever, we'll make it happen. And I was going to school in Providence, Rhode Island. AJ was just a town or two over. And we talked with another bandmate, friend, Pat, who played in a band called Edel Vry. And we're like, here we have it, drums, bass, guitar. And then there was this guy, this mysterious character who also floated into the scene named Dave Dvorak, who was like, oh, I'll sing for you guys. And we're like, there it is, it's a band. Done. And I think AJ and I were talking about this as we were preparing for this interview, because we've been preparing for a long time. That
as you can tell.
I think of course, yes, you can tell by my internet connection. I think our first practice, there was no instruments involved. There was a meeting of sorts, you know. We were kind of like, all right, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that, you're going to do that. It's going to be awesome. We're going to sound like this. It's going to be fast songs. It's going to be positive. It's going to be this or that. And then I think Dave fell out of the equation quick. So we were a three-piece for a short bit with the goal of playing fast songs, fast sets, but like, you know, having a direct message, a communication, two-way communication with the audience, and trying to wear our heart on our sleeves a little bit, you know, politically and personally. And we did, AJ, 2 shows maybe with Pat. Does that sound right?
I think more like 5.
Okay.
5, 6.
I know we played, I remember we played at 159. We were remembering Studio 159 in Providence, Rhode Island with 12-Hour Turn and Orchid. That was really cool. I remember that show really well with Pat. And then there was a twist of fate, and I'll pass it over to AJ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the 4-piece didn't ever happen. And then the 3-piece, like, we practiced, we were a band. I think we practiced at Pasteur Street. Was that it?
Yeah. These are all streets in Providence, Rhode Island, where we used to all live. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think we were doing it. Our first show was in Connecticut at Brass City.
Oh yeah.
Probably with Trevor and Daniel.
Yeah. Shout out to Walter.
Trevor and Danielle.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
And we played with Death Threat, like not the Connecticut Death Threat. Yeah. Orchid, 12-Hour Turn, Tipping Canoe. That was an amazing show, even like to be part of. Yeah. Like in that moment, it was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. And there was a show we were going to play with Murdoch. That's All She Wrote, Chris Kite's old band.
Ooh. It's funny that you just said that, because I had lost that CD for the longest time, and then somebody just posted it on YouTube, and I've been searching for it for I don't know, 18 years. Literally, I couldn't believe it was on YouTube.
With the crazy,
I love that CD.
Yeah, with the crazy packaging.
Yeah, the crazy packaging, and they have the, you know, the little horn flares in the songs and stuff. I love that stuff. That stuff.
Yeah. And I think it was the pre-cancer kids band called Face Disaster. And so it was at Worcester, at the Space in Worcester. That's right. And we were set to play as a 3-piece. Like, that's what we're doing. We're going. And we all lived in different places. Pat was at home in Massachusetts. Danielle was in Providence. I was in Connecticut. And we were all going to meet there in Worcester. And let's assume there was some miscommunications in there. So there's no fault, no finger pointing. But Pat didn't come. So, and we knew more. No, we knew on the way that he wasn't going to be there, because I bought my distortion pedal on the way. I just bought it at Guitar Center off of 84 and went to Worcester, and we were like, all right,
Let's play.
This is the two of us.
Yeah.
This is how our band dies. And
little did we know.
Yeah, like we played poorly for 14 minutes, and then like our buddies at the show were like, no guys, you can't quit, like keep doing it. This was good. And I mean, I don't know if it was, but it felt good. It felt like us, in a nutshell. And then we kind of regrouped and like kind of reworked those songs into two-piece songs, sort of, and then kind of went from there.
That was that, yeah. And we continued as a two-piece from then on.
Yeah.
Now, is the cassette just the two of you guys, or is it?
It is, yeah.
So,
yeah,
so the first thing you guys ever recorded was just you two guys.
Yeah, although some of those songs were written as a three-piece, but then, like AJ said, he got some pedals. We kind of tried to thicken the sound out a little bit, and then recorded that with Will back in the day. I think at Amherst College before it was at, like, it wasn't in his house yet, right?
No, it was a Hampshire.
Yeah, so that was fun. Or sorry, not Amherst, yeah, Hampshire, yeah.
We wouldn't want to pin Will into.
No. He's a true artist and went to an art school, yeah.
So it was almost like you guys caught lightning in a bottle when fate happened, where you guys just, played as just you guys.
It was cool, and I think, like I said, we're on the same wavelength. So it was like, you know what? Let's keep it simple. Keep it like we can do this. We can make it happen. Let's see how far we can go. Yeah.
I think I remember when Dave decided, or whatever happened with him not singing. I think we were all like, yeah, power trio. So the three-piece, everybody sings, like Sinaloa did. Like it's a cool model. And it's, I don't know, it was when it went down to two, it was like, okay, maybe it's a power duo. Let's do this thing. And I was waiting for Danielle to quit so I could be Thrones, but he never quit. So
well, the thing that caught me is I wasn't expecting a two-piece when I heard the first 7-inch Pete's off of Pete's label, and I was blown away because still to this day that's my favorite stuff that you guys put out. I love the Clean Plate 7-inch too as well, but I just feel like that first 7-inch, I don't know, it just got me. And like I said, Power to the Promiscuous is by far my favorite song. By far. The ending is probably the most powerful, like, drum beat, and like you guys doing the vocals, but like, I don't know, that song just gets me every single time. I could listen to that daily.
Awesome.
It's funny to hear you mention that song title. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
like I said, to this day, I still listen to that like at least maybe once every 2 weeks.
Wow. Hey, right on.
Awesome.
And the thing that got me interested in you guys too was you guys were the first band kind of that I saw giving out lyric sheets to people before you guys even played, which is very, very interesting to me, and I thought it was awesome. You don't see it a lot, and the stuff that you guys were talking about is pretty much still relevant to this day. You know what I mean? Even more so now. You know what I mean? With like the border of Mexico and like all the stuff, plus the emotions that you guys were talking about, not just the political stuff, but the emotional stuff. It's just very unique to see that. And like I said, I think whoever saw you guys was, lucky to get to see you guys back then. And such a unique and awesome band.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, AJ and I, again, we've been talking about this era a lot. I've been kind of delving back. I've been selling some records, which kind of opens up the memory chest and all this stuff. And we were definitely, I think we were influenced as much as musically as we were by the ethics of what we saw happening. Like, we both have thought back to a lot of the early abolition bands that we would mail order records from, and how there was much more. It was more than music, right? And I remember seeing Red and Palaka in the basement with AJ in like '98 or something like that, and that was also like pretty influential. So like I said, we were by no means inventing something new or doing something out of the ordinary. In many respects, we were kind of following and emulating something we saw. But I said this to AJ before, but I felt then and I feel now that we were emulating it sincerely and hopefully contributing in a way too. But yeah, it was kind of the way that we enjoyed seeing bands, and so we wanted to provide the same experience, you know?
Well, for me, I think there was, like, as I was going to shows, whether it was that Big Mistake band or bands they'd open up for, I saw tons of the Connecticut hardcore stuff too. You know, or you know, I didn't see Hatebreed, but saw Just the 14, the band before that, a bunch. You know, when Sick of It All was up every other weekend, so they might as well have been Connecticut at that time. And a lot of that stuff, like even like musically, I might have liked, but it didn't connect with me enough. And there was a show where Mag from Yafet, one of his old bands, and this guy Toby that introduced us, they were in a band together called Stalwart, and they played a show at Studio 158, which was that was like the DIY spot for a couple years.
Yeah.
And it had been going on unbeknownst to me, who's going to these, like, let's say knucklehead shows or local shows. And then I go to this place, which is an hour away from my house. And Stalwart played with Still Life and Hara, and Hara was a band that, like, didn't have a ton of releases out. People don't really know them, but it was a guy from Downcast, old Abolition stuff.
Yeah.
And both these bands were so heavy, but there was nothing, like, there was no mosh pit. There was talking in between the songs. There was zine distros there. It was just like this mecca I found. It was a utopia.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it just, like, the zines, I remember hanging out with Danielle in, like, you know, early on in our friendship, and you were looking through a zine of mine that I had bought at 158. And you're just, like, flipping through, and you're looking at the reviews, and I had, like, you know, like a kid, I had circled the 7-inches and records and demos that I wanted to, like, send away for because they sounded awesome. And you were like, I remember it was like a Hoover record or something. And you were like, Hoover. And I had circled, you're like, and we were just like, that kind of ephemera, that kind of, those artifacts, I feel like don't exist as in the same way anymore. But going to that, not only going to the Studio 158 place, but finding it.
Yeah.
Like, after going to shows for years at this point, I find this place, and it was like walking into the right room.
Yeah.
And it felt awesome. And I still remember it. And I still remember, like, the punch in the gut, like, oh my God, I'm getting home at 3 a.m. After, like, not drinking or smoking or doing anything or whatever. And, like, and my parents know that I'm safe because I've like earned their trust or whatever. And it was just like, it was incredible. And then that was the place. And not every band did that. Not every band had lyric sheets and those sorts of things. But I feel like as Danielle and I were playing more shows, and we bounce an idea off of each other. It's like, yes, we need lyric sheets. Yes, we need to talk. Yes. And that was even before, when we were still a 3-piece. I think we wanted to talk more than play music. And I think we did sometimes. But kind of also around the presentation, like, oh, how crazy to talk for 2 minutes and then play a 30-second song and not necessarily be like a power violence band or something like, let's say, early Clean Plate. You know, just be this different thing.
Yeah. I have like a similar story. Basically, I was like a tough guy, hardcore guy. I was in the pit all the time. I had friends that were I was really good friends with a band called Ukla Mock up here in Fault, who were pretty big in New Hampshire. And Ukla Mock was signed on Life Sentence Records, and they did a U.S. tour and stuff like that. And they played with Excessive Force. So that was just like, I had been going to shows in Boston at the Channel on matinee shows. So I was seeing like Sheer Terror, Youth of Today. I was always in kind of like not the tough guy stuff, but I was into the youth crew stuff a lot. And then it turned into kind of like Earth Crisis, Integrity, that type of stuff. So what opened my eyes, like you were saying, was Pete the Tin Can Full of Fest.
Tin Can Full of Dreams.
Full of
yeah.
Dreams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Full of Dreams in Worcester, the '98. I didn't go to the first one, but me and my buddy Brian were like, "Oh, let's go to the show." Like we know Force Fed Glass, and there was a couple other bands that we had known, and I went to that, and that opened my eyes to totally thinking differently. Nobody was like moshing and beating up each other and doing stuff like that, and it turned my mind totally the other way.
Yeah.
And that's what I started getting into. That basically just changed my whole mindset, that fest. And I fell in love. You know, Seisha played that, Portrait played that, States of Seeds, Murdoch, Devola, Chispa from Germany.
Yeah.
It was mind-blowing to me. And then since then, there was also a fest called Fuck Fest in New Bedford. And those two shows just had a huge impact on me. Neil Perry and Joshua Fifth Metal and Usurp played that. And then that's when I just started wanting to record everything I could. And me and Brian were trying to go to every show we could possibly get to so that I could record this music that I fell in love with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I still love that metalcore stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I listen to more of that stuff now because it just, like it said, there was a switch that went off in my brain and it just turned me that way and I never looked back.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Hats off to Pete because such a great benefit, and like those fests were huge for me. And same thing with Brian in Connecticut doing the Friendly Fest. Those were huge too. I feel like those two guys always had the best shows in New England back then.
Oh, I think definitely. I mean, Pete's the Tin Can Fests were pretty crazy. I mean, I'm thinking back to, I think the first one was '98, and then the Worcester was '99. I think, because I think I had just started a new job.
Oh, maybe '99. It was the space in Worcester. That was the
first one. But I remember, so this is when like I'm getting to know Pete. I'm getting to know Pat, like through Pat, who is the guitar player in our bands that we're thinking about starting. He's from the same area as Pete and Luke and Brendan up there. So like it was an incredible weekend to like, I'm sleeping in the basement at my new friend's house. I mean, it sounds kind of childish to say, but it's like, it's exciting to like do a little mini road trip. And it was an hour or two away from me. And like, I remember so much about, especially that first Tin Can. I don't know if you remember, Danielle, in the basement where we were all sleeping.
Oh, very much so.
I had a nightmare.
You did, yeah.
I had a nightmare. So I wake up in the middle of the night screaming, and everyone's like, what is up with this guy? And I'm like, oh my God, I had a dream. I was using the restroom and someone walked in on me. And I'm like, okay. So this is how I'm meeting like Pete Zetlin and like Pat. And it's like, okay, this guy is obviously a little.
On my side of the story, AJ starts screaming in the middle of the night and is like air closing a door. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I'm trying to close the stall door. Someone's trying to get in.
Yeah, there may have been some sleep talking
deprivation. Yeah.
In our early. I don't think when we toured so much, but maybe when we were. I remember one with Pete Z slept over at our house in Providence after a show or something, and I remember like screaming at him, I remember him telling me like I was screaming at him like just like verbally abusing him. Like, what are you even doing? Get out of here! This is disgusting. And he's like, "Are you asleep?" And I say, "Of course I'm asleep." And then I just went back to bed. But I don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, those fests are amazing. I wish we could do like a coffee table book of all like photos and stories or something, because it would be amazing. And how many like people got to see, Locust, Ass Up, Reversal of Man, Jenny Piccolo, who got to see those bands at all, but never mind on the same day.
Yeah. With
Adam Is Package in the middle of it or something. Like, it's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, definitely. Pete says he's still traumatized from that.
I would be too, Pete. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Well, I can throw in a story really quick too that AJ and I toured at least one time in his Volkswagen Jetta, which was, I don't know what year it was, but it was old, and we crammed all our crap in there, drove across the country, and we were driving overnight through Salt Lake City. I remember Utah. I think on the way to Denver or something like that. AJ was asleep in the passenger seat. All of our equipment's in the back. It's a Volkswagen Jetta. It's not big. And he didn't really trust my driving skills, although they're actually superior. They're very solid driving skills. And he would wake up in the middle of the night and start swatting at me and trying to grab the wheel and be like, what's going on? You're gonna crash. You're gonna kill us. I'm like, dude, keep your hands out of the way. And he's like,
I do
sorry,
it to my wife now.
It was a nightmare. And then he'd fall back asleep and I'd keep on driving.
Yeah. That's all true.
Speaking of Pete, I was reading the Sinaloa. They have a website, and they were saying that you guys were a huge influence on those guys. Were you guys kind of almost like sister bands just because of you had such an impact on Sinaloa, and maybe once they started going, vice versa?
I think we were kind of maybe fading as they were taking off.
Yeah.
I think if we had continued as a band for a couple more years, I think we would have inevitably toured together, inevitably done some records together, and that wasn't there. I think the irony is that Luke and Brendan in Edel, but also Pete with his label, were actively like kind of influencing us, and then we're influencing them back, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like maybe like a snake eating its tail or something.
I would say, and I think this is a theme for me for that whole era, is that it was actually the friendships that were really influential and monumental, more so than the bands and the music. You know, like we knew Pete from through Pat from like very early on, and so there was always a friendship there. He put out our records and stuff like that. So I think it was just like the conversations, the hanging out, the foolishness, the joking around, but all that kind of like, you know, influenced us, and I think motivated us to do what we did during all that era. Yeah.
Right. And even though there wasn't like Sinaloa Anton tours, there was like, oh, we're driving places with those folks to go see shows, or if Sinaloa was playing, I might hop on. You know, Danielle moved away, but I might hop in the van to go to Ohio for a long weekend so they could make $11 at a show, you know? But it was, yeah, I feel like they're kind of a sibling band, even if we didn't continue on like together. Like if the most of their production was after we had stopped, but those friendships are still there.
Now, Nick from Daughters was saying that you guys had a spot where shows were happening. That was kind of, I don't know if this is true or not, that you guys put on shows, and it was very important to him being part of that. Can you just speak a little bit about the shows that you guys maybe were putting on at, like, I don't know if it was
house
or whatever.
Yeah, we lived at AJ and I lived with a few other people, some folks coming in and out, some Floridians, some Providence College folks, at a house in Providence, Rhode Island, Tyndall, and we looked for the house specifically wanting a basement to do shows, and like that was priority number one. Who cares if it had a bathroom? Doesn't matter. Kids have a basement, awesome, cool, because that's our practice space, but it's also where we do shows. And we had at this point done a few tours, like maybe down the East Coast, and seen like how great. Like I remember going to and playing a show in the 12-hour turn house in Jacksonville, and they would just do them in their living room, and I was like, yeah, hell yeah, this is what we want to do, you know. Like we were down for whatever, living room or basement, but this had a really nice, decent sized basement. And so we started booking shows there, and I don't know, I think at least a year. AJ, does that sound right?
I'd say more than that. Yeah,
but
couple years, maybe like 2-ish maybe.
Yeah, but we had some, I mean, you know, it got to be the point where like the style of bands that we were into, I think we attracted, and vice versa. And so we booked some really fun shows, and had a final show when we moved out too, which was kind of wild. And I think I know Pete captured it on video, and there's a mysterious DVD floating around there where you get to see us in our best or worst, you decide. But there was a ton of people. It was a lot of fun, and there was bands playing in the living room, in the basement, maybe even in a bathroom. I don't even know.
Jacob
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 Brendes. Yeah,
Arendez.
yeah, yeah. Right on. He
Okay.
played in our bathtub. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jacob Arendez, Fujichia.com, Providence superstar still, I think. Worcester, from Worcester, maybe not originally, but as we knew him. He, in this final show, he was in our upstairs bathroom in the bathtub. He was eating Pop Rocks and drinking soda and then having a
Recording himself.
microphone to his belly
Yeah.
and like sampling and like circuit bending or whatever his like stomach growls and like,
Yeah.
you know, it was getting weird.
It was,
So-
we tried to also, I mean, one thing I remember of that is like we tried to make food always.
Yeah.
That was kind of an integral part of it, like not just for the bands, but for the people. Yeah, you know, it was kind of a cool representation of that era for, like, as I look back like this, like we saw that in several cities up and down the whole Eastern Seaboard and certainly beyond. And we were like, we want to recreate that for other people in our town, and it worked. It was cool. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what were the like, say, a couple of the two of your guys' favorite shows that you guys put on? I know I had talked to I know my buddy Carl, who used to be in a band called The Fail from Providence. He said that he kind of maybe talked with you guys, and Ruheda had played with Hot Cross, I think, maybe at your house. I don't know if that was at your house or not, but I thought he had said that. But speaking of that, what were the two like favorite shows that you guys put on?
You know,
I'm
go
thinking.
for it, AJ.
I'm trying to think here.
I have one that sticks out because it was different for me. What Happens Next from California, and I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the band from LA.
Life's Halt.
Oh my God, Life's Halt. Yes, those guys were so rad. And they came through. They toured one summer, and it was, I mean, to me, to see a band from the West Coast at our house, there was a lot of people. They were super positive, fun, and so energetic. Life's Halt was all Latino kids, like singing in Spanish. I mean, it was awesome. That was a really fun show for me, and it was during the day, and that was a good one.
Well, I'll add on to that one.
Mm-hmm.
It was July 4th, so everyone had off of work, and like it was just, we're like, oh, is anyone even going to come to this show? And there's like 100 kids in our basement, and again, we had like veggie burgers on the grill, and we had, you know, some old buddies from Connecticut for me are like came up and to hang out. It was like a July 4th party with like two amazing bands in the middle of it. I can't remember who else played. I remember making a good flyer though too.
Now, was that true? Did Ruheda actually play in Hot Cross? Was that at your house?
I am having trouble remembering if Hot Cross and Ruheda played our house. If we were doing shows when they came through, it seems like we would have, like 100%.
For sure, yeah. We did a lot of shows, honestly. I mean, it was at time, like in its peak, you know, maybe as many as once a week. You know, sometimes weekdays, weekends didn't really matter. Never got in too much trouble either, which is amazing in terms of like making a lot of noise and having a lot of kids hanging outside of a house. But yeah, it's sad, but it's also 20 something years later, so it's like my memory starts to fade a little bit with that kind of stuff.
I feel like nowadays it wouldn't fly as much as it did back then. I remember going to basement shows all the time in like Allston and Connecticut and even in New Hampshire. And I feel like nowadays it just like people just get so uptight about things like that I feel like the cops would be there way more than they were back in the day.
I feel like the cops only showed once or twice, and I think it was during the final show when they showed. And I will say this is pretty badass. Someone slashed their tires while they were inside the house lecturing us, and I was like, "Oh man, this is bold and awesome."
The funny thing is, we got a warning.
We
like
did,
a written warning.
Yep.
Cop goes back to the car, goes back to his car. The tires are slashed, so he comes back with a real
tickets.
Get us for that.
Yeah,
he didn't do that, but he gave us a noise ticket, and then had to call the tow truck.
And I have to. I think I might know who did it. And I just have to say, right on.
I know 100% who did it, and right on.
Yeah.
Because I saw you guys in the video that I posted, the first video this week. was a living room in Tufts, so
Oh
like
yeah.
off campus, maybe a little bit. I'm not sure whose house it was. I know me and my buddy Brian had found out about it, and my other buddy Ed, and that's the video where you guys were both wearing your hats.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on that day, but yeah.
I have no idea.
We did a few interesting things. We swapped instruments once. We, every now and then, you got to mix it up every now and then,
But I feel like we didn't do enough things to make that like normal. We didn't do enough abnormal stuff to make it normal.
Yeah.
Like there's still like I have no idea why that hat is on. I mean, I've been going through like a 25-year Tom Waits phase, but maybe. And Danielle was making fun of me with his hat or something. I don't know. The time we switched instruments was a notable time. I liked that.
Yeah.
We had a fake we that was in the basement at Amory Street in
That's
Jamaica
right.
Plain.
Yep.
And we had a fake fight. So like I was like, I said, come on, Danielle, like play it right or something. And you're like, oh, you think you can do better? And like this was all rehearsed. So then we switched.
Poorly rehearsed, but yeah.
Yeah, we switched and did that, and it was, I don't know, my memory of it is good.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It was fun.
When you guys toured, what was the first tour you guys went on, and how far did you go? And did you have a sister band that you kind of jumped on with, or was it kind of you guys just went on your own and made the tour yourself?
Florida, right? Does that sound right? Yeah,
January 2000,
Mhm.
I think, was our first tour,
Mm-hmm.
because we started in '98 as a 3-piece, and then by mid '99 we were a 2-piece, and then like trying to figure ourselves out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying not to read some of the things that are coming through.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty good. I hope they're part of the record. Like they stay there, right?
I don't think they. I wish they did.
It's too bad.
I don't know.
We
But,
we were drawn to. There was a lot happening in Florida, like just generally speaking, and so that was like a magnet for us, But like Gainesville, Tampa, Reversal of Man, 12-hour Turn, Jacksonville, Gainesville, Palatka, all those people. We're like, yeah, this is rad. So I think we made excuses to go down there, basically.
Totally,
Mhm.
100%.
Mhm.
And those kids were looking for the same stuff we were looking for.
Mhm.
Actually, we went down there with Woken by Wire.
That's
And
true.
Way Down.
Yeah.
Woken by Wire and Way Down went on tour. I went along for the
With
ride.
Trevor.
We went down to Florida and played like 403 Chaos in Tampa.
Mhm.
Oh, no kidding.
Played
Mhm.
You played
The hardback. Yeah.
in Gainesville. Like
Mhm.
awesome shows.
Yeah.
And when those bands were coming up here, that's probably how that 12-hour Turn show happened.
Connections.
That's probably how
Mhm.
you already knew the Reversal Kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like seeing like friends almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they were in my town, I would be friends with these people, but we're not in the same town. So when we get together, we, hang out. Athens, Jason in Athens, same thing.
Goat Shanty.
Forever.
Always.
But it's, that first tour was January 2000.
Uh-huh.
And actually, Orchid and JD
we played some shows.
did a tour at the same time, and maybe around the same trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
So we linked up in like maybe 3 shows on that tour.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was awesome being with your friends
Georgia. Yeah.
in Atlanta and in Florida and like playing a good set. Like, oh wow, that felt like a good set. And like, oh, your friends are there watching and like rooting you on, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was our first tour was just like a week or 10 days in January 2000 down the coast and back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now-
I think last
now I saw-
40
I saw-
Seconds was on tour too at that time.
Could
I
be.
saw a flyer maybe a week ago that it happened in Connecticut. You guys played. It was Orchid and Reversal of Man in Connecticut. I forget. I think Jerome Stream had played.
I may have booked that show.
You booked that. That
Yeah,
was in New London.
Yeah.
A space called the Taz,
Mm-hmm.
Total Autonomous Zone was what they were calling it. And it was, I think, the only show there ever.
Yeah.
I went to.
That summer when Reversal of Man came through, that was like one of their first bigger trips up to the Northeast, and so I had become friends with them for letter writing, you know, like just writing them letters, and very romantic thinking back upon it. And so I booked a bunch of shows with them through the Northeast, and we of course jumped on. We would do that often. Bread and Circuits, that was a huge one for us. Huge influence, and got to play some shows with them. Same deal. Like, you're coming through, we'll book you a show in Providence, in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and we'll also play them. So, you know.
Yeah, I got to see Reversal Man once up in New Hampshire, in Rochester, New Hampshire. There was a spot called Safe and Sound.
Yeah.
Up there, and I don't know if you guys ever went up there back in the day. But
I didn't think I saw shows there. The one New Hampshire show I'm remembering well was the dude or dudes from Shopmaker did a band called Three Penny Opera, and they played a New Hampshire show with like Cave In or something like that. Yeah. And I went up for that. But that's I think the only time.
Safe and Sound was big back in the the late '90s. That show was, I think it was Bastion, Frodis,
awesome,
Jerome's Dream, Reversal Man, and Assuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
In New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So that was crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah. Right on.
I'm gonna plug into my phone real quick. Hold on.
Yeah.
So how many tours did Anton Bordman do?
I'm trying to think. We did a couple more. So the Volkswagen Jetta was our main tour vehicle. One time I remember I flew out to Las Vegas, and AJ had started driving across country with all of our equipment, and had like a formative experience driving across country. I remember him being actually inspired one of our songs, driving to the Four Corners area of New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and then we met in Las Vegas and proceeded to invade the West Coast like it's never been invaded before. No, but it was honestly, it was also like kind of the same deal. Like, we were fascinated. I'll speak for myself. I was fascinated with California. I always have been. I live here now. Go figure. And now I'm actually, after 18 years, leaving. But as a kid growing up skateboarding, for sure, the Bay Area, Embarcadero, EMB, for anyone who skated, that was huge. But we were fascinated by the California music scene, specifically coming out of Goleta, at Abolition Records. And so I think, in my mind, it was an excuse to like go see that, maybe a tiny bit after the fact. But I remember we played the PCH in LA. That was big for us. We played with Esperanza. Was a band that we were excited to play with. Steve Aoki, the famous I don't know, what is it, dance hall, whatever, whatever the hell he does now. I mean,
he does everything.
But he was in that band, and I remember they missed. We played before they played. They got there, they were late. It was their last show of the tour. But then we did. I don't know where the hell we would have played next, but we complete detour, especially now that I know obviously California geography, to go to Goleta. And I insisted, I don't think AJ argued, but that we go to Abolition, which it was like, all right, we're going to the Mecca. And it was this shitbox little, hole in the wall with 8 million records. And they're just like, hey, how's it going? And we're like, we're here. Like, teach us something or whatever. Like, where are the fireworks? What's going on? And they're like, yeah, what's up? Like nothing, no big deal. But that was really cool. And then it was actually on that trip that we drove through the Bay Area for me for like the second time ever. But I remember it like it really stuck for me, even though we didn't play the Bay Area yet on that trip. And then we drove.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we went up to Davis.
Play the Bay.
We played a very weird show where in Davis, California,
Sacramento,
where a person dressed up as a cow and used their udders to squirt us while we were playing. I have a Polaroid of this. Horrible. And then that's the same trip.
There's always somebody with an animal suit on, or an animal head, always. Yeah. I don't know why, but there is always somebody dressed up.
That was this tour where I was driving in the middle of the night through Utah, and AJ tried swatting me off the road. But yeah. And then we did, AJ, correct me if I'm wrong, then the next big one was 2002 with The Body in an actual van, and which was perhaps ill-fated, but awesome. The Body, they took a small hiatus in the middle of the trip. Half the shows weren't booked, but we still made it across. We still made it across the country and got to play. I think, Hal, the little flyer that you made for this interview, there's a photo that Joshua Peach Shout out to Joshua, awesome photographer, awesome person. Took some really cool photos. I was playing in Mission Records, which is long gone, but that was in SF. So super memorable. Got to play LA again. That was awesome. Saw some of the Lifehouse people. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what kind of made you guys, pack Anton Boardman in? What was the end for you guys? Maybe family life. I know, like I said, I have 2 daughters, and when I was in bands, I kind of had to, as my daughters got older, I kind of just didn't have the time to do it. Sorry, my dogs are going wild right now.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah.
For us, I don't think we ever even talked about it.
No.
I think
I moved.
like our plan, the easiest thing was Danielle was planning on moving away.
Yeah.
He was going to spend time in,
I did. Yeah.
Spend time in Ecuador.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
I had the brilliant idea. I was 24. I was like, I've got $2,000 in my bank account. I'm going to go to Ecuador, which is where my mom's side of the family's from. And I'm going to live for indefinitely. And then after a month and a half, I ran out of money and realized that $2,000 is not a lot of money, and came back. And at that point, I knew I wanted, again, I've been drawn to California since I was a kid. And I was like, all right, this is it. We're going. And Oakland it was. But I think to answer your question, I think the band would have, I'm happy that it ended when it did, obviously on very positive terms. And more importantly, the friendship never got affected by, being forced to do something or whatever. Like in many respects, it was like a natural end of an era, but it also, there was a convenient excuse that I was leaving. Actually, and AJ and I, we jammed once. He came out and visited.
I think we jammed more than once. I feel like I brought my basing amp out.
Yeah. But I mean, that's tough, a cross country band. But yeah, so we played our final show at the warehouses. Was it at the what was the name of the warehouse?
It was at Sickle. The Sickle.
Sorry. And
that's one of the loft spaces that came about like after Fort Thunder.
Yeah. And Providence, and we got to play with, if I recall correctly, definitely the Body, Sinaloa. It was a really nice way to end, because I remember it being jam packed. There's a lot of people. We were kind of playing different corners of the room, and it was just fun to play in front of friends and end on a positive note. And then I got an airplane shortly thereafter and headed up to South America. So yeah.
Tiny Hawks also played that, and our friend Megan's band Unicorn.
That's right. So
it was awesome. It was great. And I mean, I do think, I think we both had notions about the band kind of maybe sort of continuing.
Yeah.
We recorded a bunch of stuff like at some point after we finished.
Yeah.
I do think the band was kind of the center of our friendship, and now our friendship's the center of our friendship. And we've been on 2 bike tours together for a week at a time. And it's like, that was
arguably
awesome.
More successful than our punk rock tours.
Yeah. And pedaling 1,000 miles is somehow easier than getting a big amp in a basement.
Yeah.
But we've done that. I go out to California almost every year to visit friends that are in and around Danielle. So I've gotten to see Danielle and his wife and his family grow. Well, not the newest growth. But,
they're growing. Yeah.
It's I'm glad we ended when we did.
Yeah.
And how we did.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to trade off like another year or like a big, let's say we got our stuff together and we figured out like, you know what, we're going to record an LP. 20 years ago we did this. Like, I don't know, but that cost us a friendship, or like Jerome's Dream, not talking to each other for 20 years. That bums me out for them.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I haven't had that in this experience, so I wouldn't want to change too much.
Yeah.
We had a friend that passed away mid 2001, and I think that for me was obviously a life-changing moment.
For everyone.
But it was like, it was piecing life back together and like, figuring out how I grieve and like how my friends are grieving. And it was actually at the same time that as a lot of people were moving to Providence, a lot of those Florida kids were moving up, a lot of Philly kids were moving up. Providence was kind of the spot for a minute. And all these people are moving in, and I'm just feeling like really, I just need to be kind of by myself and like figure stuff out. And I'm sure I'm sure that affected the way I thought about the band and like how I wanted to be, like how often I wanted to be out.
You were up in
Like,
Boston too. You were up in Boston for some of that last time.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
and I ended up leaving Providence, I think because that was my way to kind of regroup and reset.
Yeah.
And, you know, and lo and behold, I'm like 3 blocks away from where the friend that passed away lived at one point in his life. So just like, who knows what we're all chasing and what have you. I'm sure I had feelings about like, oh, this, you know, this is too much. Like, I don't want to go play shows.
Yeah.
Someone posted recently, I think it was Sully. Rich Sullivan has posted a bunch of stuff on YouTube,
That's right.
videos from back in the day.
Yep. I've seen a bunch of them.
Okay. Awesome guy. Like he was responsible, him and Joey were responsible for most of the Tough stuff going on back in the day.
Yeah.
But there's a video of us playing with There Were Wires at Tufts right after our friend passed away, and it's like I can't watch that. Like, I have no desire to go see that, to go to that place. And it's like, especially for a band that was like so talky, like, oh geez, I don't even want to know what I'm saying or not saying. Like, I don't want some of those moments, I don't know that I want them to be like memorialized. And then, but it's how we learn and how we grow and how we take care of ourselves and each other. And I wish I was able to ask for more help back in that time frame with that stuff, instead of like, you know, I don't remember, Danielle, like, you're my roommate, my best friend, you're living in the same house, but like, I don't think we ever said like, hey man, how are we doing here?
What's going
like,
on? Yeah.
we're 20-something-year-old kids trying to figure out big loss, and it was like a real challenge. And I'm sure that's why I kind of wanted to pack up from Providence and leave, and maybe why you wanted to pack up from Providence and leave, and
yeah. I mean,
figure all that crap out.
It's interesting. I think when we consciously started a band where like we want to play short songs, we want to play short sets. We want to leave people, you know, and ourselves wanting more. Like I'd rather end the day, I'd rather end the book saying, "Damn, I wish there was another chapter," right? And so, in some respects, the band ran its course that way too, because you know, it's like I think we've both in different ways been like, "Damn, what would it have been like?" But I'd rather end on that high note than being like, "Wow, we kind of drag that one out a bit longer than it needed to be," you know.
Yeah.
And I think we're better for it, you know. Like, yeah. So
now those songs that you guys recorded, did that ever see the light of day, or do you guys have that in the vault?
there's one track made it onto a comp that Nate Powell did, a CD comp.
Yeah, I've
thanks and hi Nate. And then the other ones, no, we have a CD of them.
I have them. I can't find the CD. I have them on like an old. It's the only reason I have this old desktop computer in my basement is because the songs are on it.
That's awesome.
And it's like, wait, I could just figure out a USB like drive, like, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like taking the time on a weekend to do that. I think someone did offer once to put it out as a tape, like way after the fact, like let's say 10 years ago, not 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was like, are you sure? Like, I don't. And then it just kind of never happened.
They're not bad songs.
I'm okay with them.
But
and you guys don't. You're not really on. Anton Bordman's not on like Bandcamp or Spotify or anything like that, right?
Nah.
I barely have Instagram, man. I'm using my wife's Instagram account. I'm struggling here.
I don't know. I think some of this was like, some of that is like, even back in the day, like the first things we were doing were phone calls and letters.
Yeah.
I feel like that to me was so special. Mailing a cassette in like through U.S. Post to Pittsburgh, in hoping that we can play Mr. Roboto Project, this awesome new space that seems like, I can't really check the internet, but seems like it's doing awesome stuff. And then going to like getting a show, going there, hanging out with the kids, getting cool French fries at the cool spot, booking those kids on their tours like the
when
next
they come
summer.
through.
It's just kind of magical, and it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like I need to cultivate the internet stuff now. Like we haven't talked, or even I don't think either of us have thought about like an Anton Boardman like Instagram page or something. Like
Yeah.
there's so many bands like that we're friends with that did so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I almost feel a part of their stuff. Like you know what I mean? Like you're posting or talking to Orchid or Will and Jay from Orchid. And have you had Jeff on?
I haven't
Jeff
yet.
with
No,
a G?
no, not yet. I would love to have Jeff on. It's so hard because I admire so many people and I love so many bands.
Yeah.
It's my lineup is, you know, I don't want to talk to somebody and be like, okay, I'll talk to you in July. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
you need another pandemic. We need another.
Please no.
Yeah,
Jesus.
another wave.
no. But like I'm trying to run the gambit too. I'm trying to speak to, because I still love the younger bands that are coming up too, as well as I love all genres of music. I love new wave from the 80s. I love you know, I'm a big hip hop guy. I like 90s hip hop. I don't really like the new stuff.
Yeah.
But I love everything. So when I'm talking about heavy music, I want to get the younger bands. I want to get the older bands. I want to talk to some people in metalcore bands. I just want to talk to everybody that I admire and I love that music.
Yeah, man.
It's been really positive for me to do this because it took me outside of my box, because like I said, I was introvert and I didn't really talk to people at shows. And although I was in a couple hardcore screamy bands myself, and I performed live a bunch of times too, but this is just something to help me, like, I guess, do something positive during this pandemic. And I love talking to people like you guys. And like I said, it's helped me, and I hope it's brought other people back to, you know, going back and being nostalgic and just thinking about those times that were so special to a lot of us.
Yeah, I think 100% it's done that. Like the fact that you're doing this is awesome, and the fact that it's there, and I can see Jamie from Off Minor or whoever else, and just like hang with them for a minute, and you is awesome. And it has, like, you've done this amazing thing during the pandemic. Like Danielle and I have talked about it. Like the pandemic has been horrible at best. And it's been hard to find like positivity and like find inertia to do something like this. So like Danielle and I, when we're talking like our weekly phone call, that's been like our version of like, or for me anyway, my version of like revisiting this moment. And like sometimes we're talking about the craziness of life now, but we're often, like, especially lately, been diving back into nostalgia and even sometimes trying to take off like the rose-colored glasses and looking back at some of that stuff. I'm like, oh geez, those rooms were pretty white and pretty male. That's interesting. What do we make of that? Like, how is that different? You know, and Hal, you especially, like, the fact that you've exposed me to some new bands, Foxtails, for example. Like, you've exposed me to new bands that I haven't heard of, and that's been awesome because I don't have as much of that push to go out and find that right now. Like, I don't have that energy to be like the 45-year-old guy at the basement show with 20-year-old kids. And like, I felt old at 25. And now it's like, oh, wait, I am the creepy guy now. Like, it's true. And
it's actually, you've earned that title.
I don't mind being the creepy old guy at the show.
Yeah.
And just to reiterate, thank you. I mean, it's really cool that you're doing this, and it doesn't matter if 10 people, 25, 250, doesn't matter. It's cool. It's a documentation of a really important era, and if there's 3 people that connect on it, right on. You know, that's awesome. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I really do. Those words are very, very kind, and you know, makes me. I'm not going to cry, but it makes me well up a little bit. You know.
No, I mean? It was a special time. Like I said, I've been. Maybe I'm 42. Maybe it's a midlife crisis for all I know. But I've been really reflecting back. These were formative years for me as a human being. Like it pointed me in the trajectory of being, you know, trying to be a better human. and trying to, make sense of a crazy and unjust world that we live in, and it's like, and a lot of that came down to human connection. I know music, it was an important piece, but like, here we are, three people talking, 20 something years later, and it's like, I feel the connection, and it's like, that's powerful. That's powerful. That's revolutionary, like, that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and when I think back, so many of my like amazing memories aren't as a band member. They're as a show goer.
Yes.
They're as
Yes.
a road trip member that drove crazy amounts of hours to see, a band that was really accessible, like Fugazi or something. But just like, oh, we got to go. We just have to do this.
Yep.
And to think of those friendships and those memories, and to still feel that like network, to still have like to see you talking to Will a few weeks ago, right? And it's like, yeah, I knew he was going to answer like that. I knew he was going to answer like that. I know what he's like. I got it. And I haven't talked like face to face since like way before the pandemic, but it would have been a show that one of his bands was out here for. And it's because of like this foundation and this groundwork is laid. It's like we can speak the same language and just kind of pick up and just like boom, and like it's kind of an amazing feeling. It's like your lifelong friends, and you don't need to send a birthday card. Hal, I will send you one on January 1st.
Thank you.
But that's a big one. But you don't need to send a birthday card, or maybe their phone number is not in your cell phone anymore. But it's like these connections live on and are, I feel like, still really hold a lot of value. And I wouldn't be who I am without all these moments of being in sweaty basements and driving 10 hours and getting paid in like Ben and Jerry's coupons and whatever else.
True story. Yeah.
Like it's been good. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, it's been fun because a lot of, I'd say maybe 60% of the people I've never really sat down and talked to. So it was a little stressful on my part because like, it's tough, but like I said to you in the DMs, it just flows organically, and it's almost like three friends like shooting shit now. You know what I mean? And it always flows so good when we're all just talking about, whatever comes up. And that's what makes this so like such a great thing and a real positive thing on my side, because I don't want because I've had some people be like, oh, I don't know, I'm not really comfortable speaking, and I try to assure them that, listen, I had anxiety before I started talking to people, and I'm going to try to make it as comfortable for you as possible, and I'm going to try to make it like we were buddies from high school, that like we're just picking up where we left off. Even if we haven't met each other, I'm going to try to make it feel that way. Even if I have my own self-doubts inside of my head, I'm going to try my best to make you feel at ease.
Well, I feel like this medium, like everything's forever now. So when we were playing shows, maybe we played the song great, or maybe we said something super intelligent or thoughtful before, or maybe we just kind of like choked on our words, but it went away because there were some people videotaping shows, but it wasn't like today where it's like every person has a video camera. Yeah. And I don't know if I could if I was 20 again or 25, I don't know if I could do it. Like it would be very challenging to know that every moment could be documented forever. And I think part of why this era is special is because of the artifacts. They're there, but they're choppy and they're hard to get to, and the recording is terrible. And it's not like going to see, I don't even know what a new hardcore band, like a Turnstile or something with like pro camera production. Yeah. And it's almost like a rock video, like some of these online videos. And our thing's just different. It's like, it's a different piece of history. And I think part of the lack of documentation lends to its importance and like the fact that why it's still special.
Yeah, it took me a while to, like, I always tell the story. I didn't bring my camcorder to every show because I wanted to enjoy it.
Sure.
The Tin Can Full of Dreams Fest, the first one, I didn't bring my camera. The Fuck Fest one, the first day, I didn't bring it. The second day I did, because I wanted to enjoy it. I didn't want to stand like this the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, still, I wanted to actually, like, you know, move my head, enjoy the music. So, like you said, it's kind of a sacrifice to do that back in the day. And I feel like now everybody's doing it. And I still feel bad because I saw Jerome's Dream in 2019 when they came back and did that little tour. And I felt weird taking my iPhone out and filming a couple things because I just have to do it because I've been doing it my whole life.
Yeah.
But it felt weird to me. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I think it also speaks to like what AJ was saying too, to build off what he was saying. Like that era, nothing was a given, right? Like it is now, where you just flip open your phone and everything's at your, you know, convenience at your hand. Like you had to work for it, you know. Like I would drive 45 minutes to Danbury to go to Trash American Style Records and, like, you know, be like, oh man, here's the new Gravity Records, you know. I've heard of this band Universal Order of Armageddon. I'm gonna buy this 7-inch, you know, and then. You know, we'd get, you know, cryptic, really not in today's terms, like these cryptic flyers with like a street address, and you're like, all right, I'm going to drive 4.5 hours and try to find this damn, you know, suburban basement in, you know, I don't know, DC or whatever. And that I think is what made it special, right? And I think like the fact that like that kind of mirrors a little bit like the documentation piece, and so it's cool. It's cool that it's happening, and it's cool that it's also like in bits and pieces here and there, you know.
Yeah.
You still got to work for it.
well,
When we did that first
ahead,
trip, Danielle, we drove up the West Coast and then drove back across, you know, I don't know the geography right now. We played a show in Idaho. All we had was a phone number, no address. The instructions were, when you get to town, call from this payphone, because we didn't have cell phones. Call from this payphone at the 7-Eleven or whatever it was. And we're like, are we really going to drive? We're going to drive like 8 hours to go to this, hopefully it's a show, and then 8 hours to the next place or whatever. And then we end up calling, hoping, I'll be home in a few minutes. Yeah, come up here, do this. Like, okay. And then we go, and there's a show. And it was okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Worth the 8 hours, I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, like I used to put my mom's like home phone number, because obviously I live with my parents, on all the flyers.
Oh
and
yeah.
I was like, nowadays you would never do that.
No.
Jerome's Dream played my parents' basement in like my hometown because I set up a show at Brass City Records, and then they were having like, they were kind of on again, off again with shows and like noise complaints and stuff like that. So the day of, it became an off again, and we needed a place for the show because that band Goat Shanty was touring from Georgia. So we just had it in my parents' basement, and 30 kids appear. I've got photos. I've got, you know, Will came down from Amherst. Like there's lots of nice these weird little pocket memories, and they're all kind of like hidden jewels. It's cool.
Well, like it's hidden jewels, like the 6 shows that Bucket Full of Teeth played.
Oh yeah.
I was lucky enough to record one of those 6.
Did AJ have dyed hair with tiger stripe? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like cheetah spots, I think.
Cheetah spots. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah,
cheetah spots. Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you I love that band so much. Like when those guys recorded, I guess it was probably the first 7-inch and maybe the second 7-inch didn't have vocals yet. And Will gave me a CDR of it. And I was just like, oh my God. Like I was never into metal. I never really got into the stony stuff, like the riff heavy stuff. Like I just didn't even know about it. And I was just blown away. And I was like, dude, you guys have to come out. Like we'll play our basement, do anything. It's like, oh, we're never going to play out. And like, we don't have a singer. We can't do this stuff and sing the way, like, it's not meant to be a live band. I'm like, oh, dude, you ever need a singer? I'm happy to do it. Oh my God. Blah, blah. And then they talked about it at some point. And I was, hey, take me on the road for 6 or 7 shows. Let's do it.
Let me dye my hair first.
Yeah, I got to dye my hair. Well, we all did.
I believe you.
Yeah, Matt Wilga, Wonka. We all had nicknames on the tour. It was a good time.
And was that a quick like New England tour that you guys did?
I think we played Jersey, Pittsburgh, maybe outside Philly. So it was like northeast, definitely northeast. That was it.
Northeast, yeah.
We played that Boston show that you recorded.
Yeah.
Or Cambridge. We played Providence.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we must have played New York. But yeah, just around.
Oh, great music and like that music is amazing. And like I said, I was just lucky enough to see you guys once play out. A lot of people, whoever saw those 6 shows.
I feel like I was lucky enough to see them play five or 6 times, because I was just like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is like, it's like a fantasy camp or something. Like you go down to spring training and you play with like washed up baseball players or something, but I got to do it before those guys were washed up. Oh, Will just said Long Island.
Long Island. Hey, Will.
So after Anton Bordman, I know you were in Lorna Doom too.
Yeah.
And that was very different from what you were doing.
Deep cuts.
In those other bands. Moving to California, Danielle, did you join any other bands or did you just
No, so I moved at it. It was a pivotal time for me. Like the move across country was, I mean, in hindsight, I'm saying this, significant in many respects, but also kind of like a new beginning. I knew I wanted to teach, and that's kind of what I moved out here to do. I become a teacher, an elementary school teacher. And I was still into music. I mean, music will forever be the number one, top love of my life, other than my wife, of course. But, and so I was still very much into music, still playing music. One of the things that I'll highlight that's a little known fact is, again, super influential human being in our musical upbringing was Sarah Kirsch, who, played in Fuel, Torches to Rome, John Henry West, Bread and Circuits. And, I got out here, and the guy Joshua Peach was a photographer. I was friendly with him from, just whatever, seeing and Bread and Circuits had come through. Bread and Circuits had come through, and he was on tour with them. And he's like, hey, we should play in a band. And we got this other guy, Mark, who was from Little Rock, and there were 2 guitars and a drummer. And then, you need a bass player. And then they were like, well, Sarah will play bass for you guys. And we did. We played. We never had lyrics, but we recorded 4 songs here in Oakland. And that, to me, in some respects, was kind of the pinnacle. I mean, like, I have the deepest and utmost respect for Sarah, who passed away several years ago now. And so, rest in peace, rest in power. But man, that was really cool. And then my good buddy Emil, who I saw pop on here at some point, also from Little Rock, he moved out here. He and I lived together for a short bit in Providence, and he moved out here. We had a lot of adventures together on and off on the bicycle and with music and whatnot. And we played in a few bands, all pretty small.
You toured.
We did tour. We flew out and played some shows in the East Coast. But Quiet Coyote was actually my favorite configuration, which all these bands recorded. And I'm the worst, man. I know CDs exist somewhere, but and I don't even know. So I think someone's asking about the name of the band with Sarah Kirsch. We never even had a name. We just we recorded 4 songs, and we practiced for maybe like 4 months. And talked to Joshua Peach. He's got that recording. Man, I've lost it. But
Joshua Peach is Vegan Donut, right?
Yeah. Super solid person, and I know he would have it. But yeah, so I played in a few other bands over the years with Emil here, and all of them were fun and fairly local, except for we did make a little trip out to the East Coast to play. But it was more about, again, and it always has been, connecting with friends, playing with friends, like, playing show, like the scenes in the era and the time was different, so.
Yeah.
but it's cool, and I haven't done anything since then. As a matter of fact, our friend Joel, his wife, now has my drum set because I can't store it in our place now, and it's getting more use by her than by me, and that I mean, I'm just happy it's getting used. But yeah, I mean, I miss playing, and who knows if I will or won't ever play again. But but music itself remains central and huge piece of my life, always and forever. Yeah.
Do you guys ever have the fever to get back into another heavy spastic band like Anton Boardman?
AJ?
I will say, yes, I do frequently. I will get inspired by, usually it's a friend's band. It could be like a podcast. It could be Will's making pedals now, right? So I bought one of his new pedals, and I'm excited to like give it a rip and like play music like I used to play. I can't really imagine that I'll find like bandmates and like play music, like play shows anytime soon. I know Pete Zetland and I have jammed a few times. You know, this is, I guess, kind of becoming distant history now with our kids and stuff. But like, you know, write some parts and kind of like play with them and whatever. Oh, this is, you know, have a little band meeting and like talk about where we're going with it and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't like. I guess I kind of want that. Like when I was growing up, the older, like the cool dad or something would be like drinking beers on a Friday night with his buddies playing like classic rock in the garage. And I think I want my version of that, which I guess would be like playing a Honeywell song or something in the garage. But yeah, I'd actually like to be more musical. I'd like to play more music for myself, like, and just like even like relearn parts from old songs I wrote. But I don't have the push as much to be like on a stage doing that.
Yeah.
Or on the floor.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you guys. I sold all my records. All I have is CDs now. I don't even have a record player, but I still have. This is the only record.
Hey, awesome!
This is the only record I have still.
That's
really?
A special one.
That's the like I never got rid of it. I was like, nah,
what an honor! What an honor!
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to show you guys that this is
Right
the only
on,
vinyl I own in my whole.
Hal, they just wouldn't take it in the record shop because the dollar bin.
Like, that's garbage. Get that out of here.
Full.
Hey, if anyone, by the way, for whatever, I have a few copies left of both of those records. If anyone wants it, I'll just send it to you for postage. So just, I guess, reach out to my wife's Instagram because I don't have Instagram, or talk to AJ and he'll talk to me. But yeah, we've got a few of those records if that's of interest to anyone.
Now, did you guys ever make shirts?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, tons of them. Yeah, we were caught up in we're going to sell you a shirt that we screened ourselves for $1.50 or whatever. I mean, I think our shirts were $2, whatever, and.
Yeah.
We would rate
bought
them
them for $1.
Yep.
We bought them for $1 used and
Yep.
sold them for $2.
For $2, yeah. We would raid the thrift
great-
stores and just silk screen on the back of shirts, and yeah, I don't have mine anymore.
I don't have them either.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all the times I saw you, I don't think you guys had shirts that shows that I did see you guys at.
It was more for trips, I think, out of town. I feel like I remember garbage bags of them on tour.
Yeah, I remember garbage bags.
And,
I remember that show at the PCH in LA.
Yeah.
We had our first 7-inch, which we were selling. I feel like we were selling that for $2.
$2. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we made so much money selling stuff. I was like, we made like $50 or $70 selling like records. I was like, Danielle, this tour is gonna be cake, baby.
Yeah.
Like we are sitting in a gold mine of these disgusting T-shirts.
Yeah.
But then no other show was like that ever again. So.
Well, I don't want to keep you guys for too long.
No.
It's almost been 2 hours. I know you guys have family and stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. On Sunday. Sunday's usually family day for me. My wife and my kids are kind enough to let me do this every Sunday.
Awesome.
I begged my wife. I was like, please, this is just one thing that I need to do.
No, that's awesome.
So I like I said, I don't want to keep you too long. So I throw out these rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Let's do it, man. We're ready.
Okay. Number one, favorite all-time New England punk hardcore band for you guys.
I'm ready to answer that one. I'm prepared for your questions here.
Good on ya.
All right. This is going to be kind of out of left field, but I sincerely mean this. In Vain was an amazing like emo screamo band from like the 158 days. If you haven't checked them out, they're awesome. They're probably like only like claim to fame was they did a split with Piebald, but they're way better than Piebald. God, leagues are better than Piebald. Sorry, whomever. And then super influential band from Connecticut that was way ahead of their time. Not Just Burning or The Killer Sleeps in the Government's Blankets or Stalwart. They were all the same band. And it was John Wilson, who went on to be in Anasarca, Mag, who went on to be in Yaphet Kotto, Toby, the person who introduced AJ and I, and this guy, Pete, playing bass. Very, very rare recordings, but man, they were awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to say favorite. So I'm going to say I have to list that band Big Mistake as one of my favorites. Just as far as like kind of being an introduction to everything. I'm also going to include the Pissed in that. So like it's kind of a twofold. The Big Mistake, anyone listening can't find anything of theirs probably, but the Pissed is definitely out there.
Yeah.
And that kind of introduced to me like not DIY for DIY's sake, but like DIY because we mean this, not because no one will book us, not because no one else will put out our record. And yeah, super. I can't say I listen to the Pissed every week or every 2 weeks or anything like that, but super important. Spit on Your Grave had a ex-member, or actually was a current member, but he was the first one to quit. He's like, come on, guys. But those two bands like meant and still do mean like a lot in the memory banks, a lot to like the music I was to discover and all that came in front of me. And yeah.
Nice. My second question: what was the first punk or punk/hardcore show you attended?
I think I may have shared in the beginning when the internet was cutting in and out, but I went to a show at the Playground Skate Park in Wallingford, Connecticut, and saw a lot of local. It was all local Connecticut bands, but the two I remember were Dismay and Level. Yeah, old school Connecticut hardcore, man.
My first show, I believe, was like a DRI reunion tour.
Really?
With that band Big Mistake opened, baby.
Jesus.
Like,
Really?
It was at the Sports Palace in New Britain, Connecticut, and that was it. It was kind of like a good way to have a first show. Like it was a bigger space, so it was almost like a mini concert instead of a show.
Yeah.
And like I could be far away from like people dancing too hard and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now were you a DRI fan back then or no?
No.
Are you now?
No.
Are you now?
Yeah, no, I never particularly into them. Never particularly into like the crossover talk or anything about them. I like the logo, I guess, but
Yeah.
just went
Cool.
Because Andy from Last 40 Seconds was like, "Oh, dude, we should check this out." I was like, "Okay, let's check it out."
Right.
Nice. My next question: all-time favorite punk hardcore show you guys played?
Oh,
I can't not mention the Tin Can Full of Dream festivals. I don't even know if of course we played them towards the end.
Yeah, you played.
So,
I put a video of that.
Providence for sure. But I will say, Brennan Circuits in a VFW hall in Rhode Island and in Connecticut, they just blew. I mean, they blew me away on every level. And I remember watching Jose Palafox play drums, and I was like, "Oh my God, this guy is insane!" And he's beating the shit out of his drums, and I gotta copy this. And I remember I was there kind of improvising a little bit in between songs, and I was trying to improvise and failing horribly, but it was that was awesome. I'll never forget that tour. That was amazing. Yeah, them and former members of Alphonsine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. A favorite show that comes up for me is I think it's a couple shows mixed in. But it's when we played Gainesville
Oh,
and Orchid and JD
yeah.
joined us to play Wayward Council, a
That was
really
awesome.
cool show space. And I think we were still like young enough into the two-piece thing
Mhm.
that it was like playing the music was still hard for me. And
Yeah.
like I was doing a lot of like step on the pedal and like it'll be soft for a second, then step on the pedal, it's loud again.
Yeah.
And that was always like I always messed that up. And I just remember like saying like the things I said felt like I said them right.
Mhm.
And the things I played, I felt like I played them right. And then when I looked around, it was not only our Florida friends in the room, but it was like
Massachusetts, yeah.
Orchid and JD and also on that trip we ended up hanging out. It's like Megan came down from Cape Cod
Right. That's
with
right.
kids
What's up, Megan?
to Georgia, and it was like it was just surreal and amazing, and it felt amazing to be part of, and it felt like people got it.
Yeah.
You know, like the people in the crowd, even like whether it's Florida kids or our friends, like, whoa, like we put out the best version of what we do, and like they were there to like appreciate it, and it felt awesome. It just felt awesome.
I'll say this, at the end of that show, we walked outside like a sweaty mess, you know, and it probably was midnight, whoever said that. Those shows started so late. It was probably like 2 hours
that's
when we
Tom
finished.
Slatter. Tom
Okay.
Slatter from.
Oh, hey Tom.
Um,
We played with the assistant a ton.
Right on, right on.
You and I played my dad's parts store, the auto parts store. We booked a show in Central Connecticut for
Yeah.
you and I was on with somebody.
Yeah. But I was going to say really quick, we walked out of that show and AJ and I didn't even get a chance to say anything. We just looked at each other and gave each other a hug because we were like, what the fuck just happened? That was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, that was amazing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We could end on that note and that would be okay. So
Yeah.
fun memories.
That's great. That's great. My next question: all-time favorite punk hardcore show you attended as like you were in the crowd watching and you guys didn't play?
I've been thinking about these questions, Hal. I'm ready. Senior year of high school, I graduated in '96, and I booked a show in Hamden, Connecticut, not far from where AJ grew up, at this space hall. I don't know. It was Julia from Santa Rosa, California, Anna Sarka from DC. I think maybe Mildred O'Hain, the band that I was in, played. Trevor, you can check me on that. A band from New Jersey played, and then this other band showed up and asked very politely if they can play. They were called 400 Years, and I was like, yeah, you guys can play. It's cool. I can tell that you guys are dressed really cool. And oh, that's a dude from Groundwork, Arizona. Whatever. Yeah, come on, play.
Yeah.
And it was their first 7-inch had just come out, and they threw down. All those bands did, but they threw down so hard, and I was just floored. It was the best lineup with like the super solid drummer, the woman playing bass, and they were young and like new, and they were super appreciative to play. Julia played really well as well, and Anna Sarka also threw down really hard that night. It was awesome.
That's incredible. Wow,
That was a really special one, and I booked it. It was cool, so I'll always remember that one. Yeah, mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Same question to me.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm gonna answer it kind of in a funky way, kind of like that last question, because it was kind of an experience. It wasn't just one thing, but there was. We were living together in Providence, Danielle, and Fugazi was playing Fort Reno, that outdoor park in DC, and the Pupils. The two dudes from Lungfish were opening.
We drove down. Yeah,
We
bunch
drove,
of us did.
Bunch of us drove down, but my path, I ended up driving to Connecticut, where I was from, my old hometown, catching a ride with a friend, a high school friend, who happened to be going to a Mets game. So I got in the car with him. We went down to Shea Stadium, and I took a train somewhere,
Jesus,
and met another high school friend, and walked around New York and this and that. And I'm like, okay. And friends, Matt Morhan, Pete Zetlin, those guys were coming from like Jersey down to DC. They were staying at Matt Morhan's house in Jersey. So I just needed to get from New York to New Jersey by X amount, because I didn't have a cell phone. I had to get there before, noon on Sunday or something. So I'm hanging out in New York. My friend Jeff brought me down. My friend Tim, we're hanging out. Both members of the Hack Crew. That was for Danielle. And I was like, oh, I'll walk to ABC No Rio and just see what's happening. It's a Saturday afternoon right now. So I walk over there, and To Dream of Autumn had just played. I didn't see them. But they had a roadie with them that was friends of mine from Florida, friends of ours from Florida. And they're like, oh, like, so we're just rapping with him, and I'm hanging out. And we had met the To Dream of Autumn kids from like one of those fests.
Yeah, sounds about
I
right.
don't know, one of those Midwest fests.
Sounds about right.
And so I hang out with them. They're like, oh, we're staying in New Jersey. I'm like, oh, you mind if I crash? Oh yeah, sure. Go to New Jersey. It's Tom's house, Tom Schlatters' house.
No way.
He put up the Dream of Autumn. So we crashed there for the night, hang out, whatever. And they ended up bringing me to a diner the next morning or something. And I wait in the diner drinking coffee for 3 hours, waiting for my friends to get there to bring me to DC. And they did. And we go to DC, get to see Fugazi, get to see the Pupils. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And it was like time for me to be alone, time for me to be with friends, time for me to be with acquaintances, time for me to see Fugazi outdoors on home turf.
That was awesome.
Opening up. It was just awesome.
That was a great show.
And like that to me kind of sums up favorite show, because it's like, no, it wasn't Fugazi and the Pupils alone that did it. It was everything that led up to that part. And it was just perfect.
Yeah, the road trip itself sounds like definitely a perfect road trip to get there.
Incredible.
That's often the case, right? It's like the whole experience combined.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's amazing. My next question. I'm a huge movie guy. I don't know if you guys are. I always ask this question. What was the last movie you guys watched?
Man, this is sad, but I was asking my wife, I was like, what's the last movie we watched? And they're all documentaries. So, I mean, we're big documentary fans, but like, don't even get to watch that as often. That we have 2 kids, very young. So time is a fleeting thing, but yeah, I can't even tell you the last like non-documentary movie I watched, but so I'll pass it to AJ.
Well, I could say Moana like 10 times.
Yeah. Nice.
But I watched that Palm Springs movie, the Andy Samberg on, I can't remember what streaming service it was on. I watched that. I watched the new Kristen Wiig. It was another like
Borat. I watched the most recent Borat movie. Yeah.
Okay.
You did. Uh-oh.
It's right. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know if I should be proud or sad to admit that, but there it is.
Danielle only likes highbrow documentaries.
Yes.
She's very, very highbrow. And Borat. Which is cultural criticism,
It is. It's a documentary of sorts.
Those are probably like, those are the just kind of easy movies. It's been hard to find the time and the energy to watch a movie, really.
Totally.
But it's like to sit with one thing for 2 hours, and to like just find something that my wife or my family's going to be engaged in the same as me is like, it's a challenge. Yeah. But it's been like knucklehead comedies on the streaming services, really.
Yeah. I totally get it. But the only thing is, because I watch movies, is because my wife and I have kind of flip-flop schedules. So I work in the daytime, and then as soon as I get home, she leaves within a half an hour. And so I have 2 daughters. One's 9 and one's 11. Awesome. So they're kind of they do their own thing now. It was tough in the beginning, but by the time I feed and walk the dogs, feed them, feed myself, I get maybe an hour and a half at night for myself. So I'll just throw on a movie. That's why I'm like kind of like,
that's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
But I know how it is. Like I said, I have 2 daughters, so
it's tough. Yeah.
I've thought that looking at your Instagram, I'm like, Hal Capone has a wife. He's got 2 kids. He's got a job. This guy is busy, but you're finding the time for the social media. So it's like even like your movie reviews and stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, I was trying to put the pieces together. So now that they're 9 and 11, I have something to look forward to. I think.
Yeah. They can like play together or do their own thing. I mean, they're into like Roblox now, which is I don't understand, but so. All right, my next question: favorite all-time horror movie for you guys?
And the last one I saw, which was like The Exorcist in like 1984 or whatever. But that's a crazy ass movie. That's, I mean,
Yeah, that is a good movie. That is a classic.
yeah.
Yep. I'll say, and I don't know that I would answer this the same way on a different day, but I'll say Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah, I remember watching that in Providence. Yeah. Oh,
Only just for like, again, like our whole spiel is about everything that's around, like the friends that were involved in. Like I remember the friend. I went with my friend Todd in Connecticut to see it, and then we drove to the old abandoned insane asylum after we saw the movie, and like just like doing kooky stuff.
Yeah.
And so I remember my experiences seeing that really well.
yeah.
It's funny. I saw it in the movie theater too, but I was in Arizona at the time.
Okay.
The only thing I had is like I was sad that
Another
they
highbrow
actually
documentary.
the only,
Yeah, don't quote me on any of this. This is why we're not made for the world where things are
Get
captured
recorded.
forever.
Yeah.
I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
I have two more questions.
Go for it.
I'm a hip hop guy also. If you've been listening to hip hop, what have you been listening to for hip hop, if anything at all?
For me, well,
Go for it, AJ. Yeah, go for it.
for me, I always go when I'm listening to hip hop. It's like usually for a reason. Something draws me back there. So, MF Doom passing away, that like really kind of reinvigorated a love of mine for his music. 10 years ago or so, and that sends me into like a Mad Lib situation. So I'm listening to that, and then really anytime Mad Lib is Quasimodo, I love it. It's so corny, but I love it so much. The pitch shifted voice up and down, and I really it holds on. Like I can still listen to the whole records and like really enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. I love Quasimodo too.
Okay.
Definitely.
Oh, awesome.
Speaking of the West Coast, though,
Yeah, go
R.I.P.
for
to
it.
Shock G. R.I.P.
Oh.
to Shock G.
Totally R.I.P. He's young. I mean, he's like, yeah, we're getting old is what's happening. And that's
That is the
getting
truth.
Well,
horrifying.
it's been crazy. It's been 3 weeks in a row now that a rapper has died. I mean, it was DMX, and then Black Rob died the next week, and now Shock G. Plus, Positive K hit me kind of hard. I don't know if you guys listen to People Under the Stairs. They were from San Francisco, California. Really, really, really good hip hop. If you ever want to delve into People Under the Stairs, their stuff, they have a bunch of CDs. Their catalog is huge. And Double K passed away just a little while ago too, and that's very sad. So sorry, I didn't mean to go on a side.
Oh no,
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
Danielle,
Go for it.
Mark from Palaka in True North gave me a few hip hop mixtapes that. Like,
okay, I think I remember this. I remember this. Yeah.
Not like blended, like not like a DJ mixtape.
Yeah.
And People Under the Stairs was on there.
Okay, right on.
Not like Loop Pack, all that. Like hit. Even the hip hop stuff I like was largely influenced by like the hardcore.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that goes.
Yeah, I will say I'm not as much attuned to hip hop for whatever reason, but I mean, one whole thing that I didn't really touch upon at all in this past 2 hours is I'm a massive, massive fan of Cuban music as of like the past decade and change. Traveled out there 7 times since 2003, but an offshoot that you can't not mention is reggaeton music, which is like a direct mix of reggae and U.S. hip hop. So somewhere in there, it's all tied together. But yeah, so I listen to some reggaeton, but not too much. But
definitely. So my last question for you guys is, what was your favorite song to play when you guys were in Anton Bordman live?
Oh,
I like two songs come to mind. One of the later songs that we wrote, we can swear, right? Fuck Your Phallus. Yeah. That was musically super fun to play, and it kind of represented a neat, like, I think, like, culmination of our, like, sonically what we did. And then both songs that we sang in Spanish had a special place for me too. Growing up in a household where we both my parents were immigrants and we spoke Spanish, and but not having that really represented, and even in the moment, not realizing like how unrepresented that was as part of the scene. But so that was pretty cool. And again, it wasn't like super revolutionary. Like there was other bands that were doing it, and doing it well. Crudos, Lex Hall, a lot of the places where there was more of a diverse community, especially a diverse Latino community. But those songs were special. Yeah.
I will agree. For me, that the "Fuck Your Pals" song, I liked it a lot. Like I liked playing it.
Yeah,
it felt like it sounded cool and a little different than other stuff we had done, and yet it was mostly easy to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
There was another. I think it's the song "Big Ten," which we never really called it that.
Yeah,
but it has like this weird. There's parts in it that when we nailed, I was like, yes, that's like what a real band sounds like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of like figuring it out, it felt like, oh no, that guy can play bass. Like, okay, cool.
Right.
And yeah, that's my barometer, I guess.
Yeah.
Early on, the BS of America.
Oh, that was super fun to play. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's the song that we switched.
That I learned the bass part and AJ learned the drum part. Yeah.
So that's on the first 7-inch
no
demo, and that one was always like short, to the point, and like I guess they're all like that.
Yeah.
It was fun to play.
Yeah, Safe and Legal was always another one for me. That was like,
cool, right on.
Big too. But like I said, Power to the Promiscuous was, but like that ending part just like gets me every single time.
I gotta go back and listen to it now.
You guys always brought the funk in the crazy spastic drumming that just worked so good, and both your vocals like weren't. Sometimes bands' vocals sound similar, but you guys offset so good together that it just really, really worked. And once you see like a drummer doing vocals too, that's always interesting to me too.
It's
incredible
how powerful you were drumming, and it was coming off like.
Thank
really
you,
good,
thank you.
So.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
So I just want to thank you guys so much for taking the time out. Like I said, we're all family men, and just taking this 2 hours out to do this, I super appreciate you guys doing it. Now that we're like face-to-face talking, like, please, anything you guys need, just get in touch with me. I'm always here for you guys, and let's just stay in touch, and I hope everybody stays safe and everything gets back to normal. And then maybe, for some reason, if we're at a show, we all get to hang out
Let's
for
kick
a little
it.
bit.
That's what I would like.
Yeah.
Someday
Thanks.
I like that.
Thanks again, and and the message to everyone: keep the flame alive. Whatever that
Yeah. Oh, he's already gone.
He's swirling.
What I'll say, I thought you were going to ask about bands we're listening to now.
I do actually ask that, but
okay, I'm going to leave.
Go ahead.
You all got to go. Luke from Sinaloa has a new project that he just released called Learners, and I've only listened to like the first half of the first side, like of the tape, and it's awesome, and people should listen to it, and like that's what we're here for. It looks beautiful. It's an awesome project. It looks like an awesome project, and I can't wait to like devour the whole thing.
Yeah, what like I saw it, and I was trying to find it. What kind of music is it? Like, what is the what does it sound like? It's
derivative of what we're all a part of. It's like Luke did something called 9 Billion Names of God a long time ago.
Yep, I remember that. Yeah.
So it's kind of like his voice comes out clear, like very clear, like it's not low in the mix, like I guess like a real fast punk song might be, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's a mix between like Sinaloa and 9 Billion Names of God, almost, into like this. It's just a Luke project.
Yeah.
And it makes sense if you like his stuff and you know him, and it's super thoughtful and interesting so far. So I'm really into that.
Yeah.
I'm also into Jeff from Orchid's podcast.
Oh, yes.
Where he talks about old movies. You should check that out. He talks about Canon films.
Yeah. Isn't Jay on there too?
Jay was a guest once.
Oh, Jay was a guest. That's right.
And a dude from, who's the band that toured with Jerome's Dream? Just recently.
Loma Prieta.
Maybe that's not. I was thinking it was that band, but it's not. It's a band that sounds like that, like a newer screamo band that's really big. Was also a recent guest, but he's just talking about old movies, Cobra, Death Wish stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Danielle got kicked off, but he said thanks so much. So hey, we can wrap it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, AJ, thank you so much for doing this. I know it took a little while for us all to get on one thing, but I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great night. And anything, like I said, you ever need, hit me up. Let's stay in touch, and have a great night.
Awesome. Thanks,
All right.
Hal, and thanks for hounding us and making it happen, because it was awesome. So keep doing it, and I will keep watching them.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.